guys? This is cobradvs and Neo Flynn back again.
Hey everybody.
Hopefully we can get through it this time. This is actually the second time we've had to do this. Last night it just wasn't in the cards last night.
Skype hated us last night.
It was really insane. It was like trying to talk on a cell phone in the mountains or something. It was really bad. But it looks like everything looks to be working well tonight. So we'll do with what we have. All right, so let's go ahead and just dive right into it. We can start doing the comments. Got 7 comments. Actually, it's weird. It tells me I have 7. It says comments and then in parentheses 7, but there's only 6.
Well, there's one at the very beginning, like the first comment was like removed, and then it says author withheld. So it's probably still counting that one.
Oh, it doesn't show that on mine. Well, whatever. All right. All right. Poncho828 says good episode, guys. LV Peppy 38 says great episode. Okay. All right. Ball and Nick has a little longer. He says great episode. This is Ball and Nick 1982. Great episode, guys. I'm gonna have to listen to this in 2 parts, but I'm glad you guys are back doing the podcast. I agree about graphics. It wouldn't bother me much if the Wii U didn't have top-notch graphics. I'm sure games will still look great. Just look at how the Wii U pulled off Xenoblade. That game is one of the most gorgeous games I've ever played, and it's not even on an HD console, and like you said, it's about the games, not the graphics. Looking forward to more podcasts. Yep. That's basically what we said. Yeah, well, that's what I said anyway. I don't really remember everything. But
Essentially, I think we both agreed that the games matter more than what the graphics do. So
that's right, yep. And Mike Gardner's got a 3-parter. We did this last night. We'll just answer them. I'll read one and then we'll reply to it and then read another and reply. The first one says, I haven't played a handheld seriously since the Atari Lynx. I have an iPhone. There's no need for a handheld at this point, but playing Mario Kart would be awesome on a handheld amongst several people. Cobra, your Nintendo love has shown through in this episode. I cannot tell you how many friends of mine have bought a Wii, played it for 2 weeks, and it's collect dust for years. There's a handful of games that are good for the system, but this isn't the heyday of the Super NES, N64, and NES. I think I made a joke during the first recording that he said, the last handheld he played seriously was the Atari Lynx, and I wasn't aware that anybody had seriously played the Atari Lynx.
well, they probably burned their eyes out if they tried too hard to do that.
Does that have the same bad screen the Game Gear has?
It's even worse than the Game Gear, as I recall. Yeah, I actually have a Link somewhere, but I don't think it works. So.
All right, and he says, I cannot tell you how many friends I have that bought a Wii, played it for 2 weeks, and it's collected dust for years. Well, that's just like, I guess laziness on their part, because, when you first buy a Wii, let's say you bought it at launch, the big thing at launch would probably be, Wii Sports was the biggest thing out. I don't know the launch titles for the Wii. I can't really make a comment about that, but saying that it's been collecting dust for years, well, then he hasn't bought any of the new games,
Right.
That was Skyward Sword, Mario Galaxy 2, Smash Brothers. There's a lot of excellent games out there. The Kirby's, Metroid Prime.
Yeah, there's plenty of good stuff to play. You just have to get in that right mindset to, play your Wii. Like, for me, it's really hard to sit and play Wii. I don't know why. It's just one of those things. Like, I don't know if it's the motion controls or what, but, it's definitely the hardest system for me to sit down and play.
Yeah, well, it's definitely easier to sit down and play a 360. I'll agree with that, but I have been playing my Wii quite a bit lately, but we'll get into that later. All right, his second comment says, there's several franchises that have had sequels that have outclassed the original, but the cases are few and far between. While I agree that the premise that sequels should look different, oftentimes it's difficult to change a concept that worked in the first place. Look at Sonic and Sonic 2. Similar, couple of tweaks, but the graphics and music in Sonic 2 are better than Sonic 1. I just played Link, Zelda 2, and man, that game sucks. I despise it, but they attempted something new, and I respect that. Again, it's based kind of what we said, I'll agree with him here that it's, you should try and do something different, but it is hard.
Yeah, you don't want to go too drastic, like he brings up Link. Like, that was,
Oh,
widely regarded as a big misstep, on their part, changing it so drastically. But
uh-huh. I've
you
actually,
know,
I have that game. I don't think I've ever played that one. Um,
it's so different from the original that
uh-huh.
it's hard to even call it a sequel.
Yeah, it doesn't look quite as fun either. I know a lot of people really like it though.
I well, we talked about this when we were talking about Zelda before, but I'm not the hugest Zelda fan anyway, and so
Yeah,
I
that's true.
didn't get into it at all. But he does mention Sonic, which was one series that we failed to mention in
Mm-hmm.
our sequel debate. Which Sonic is a really good example of
Yep.
how to do it right.
Yeah. Let's see. Sonic 1 from Sonic 1 to 2, I think the biggest addition is Tails. You can play as Tails. There's actually multiplayer in Sonic 2. You can race each other.
Yeah, they had that little race mode or whatever.
Yeah, the bonus stage is a lot cooler. The music is sweet. I don't know. I said this before, but Sonic 1 is actually my favorite Sonic. Sonic 2, they actually go backwards. Sonic 1 is where they go in order. Sonic 1 is my favorite, 2 is my second favorite, and 3 is my least favorite.
Least
I don't
favorite.
know why. I like Sonic and
Me?
Knuckles. I like that one.
Yeah, Knuckles was fun.
But I don't know. I just didn't care for Sonic 3. I'm not sure why. I used to have it on the computer, and I didn't like it. So maybe I'm a little prejudiced against it, but
Right.
yeah. All right, his third comment, he says, similar to Neo Flynn, I missed the N64 days. I had a PSX, and I was in college, so GoldenEye, NWO Revenge, and Mario Kart 64 were the games of choice. I didn't play Ocarina till about a year ago, and I think I was too late to the party by then. I dug the Ninja Gaiden and Shinobi reboots on the Xbox, but I missed the classics. Kid Icarus for the NES was an absolute classic. Awesome episode, guys. Great job. All right, PSX. I don't know what that is. I know it's a PlayStation 1, but I don't know why it's called PSX.
Yeah, some people call the PlayStation 1 a PSX, but there is actually a system called a PSX, which was like this weird DVR slash PlayStation thing that I think was Japan only.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it's actually a misnomer to call a PS1 a PSX because that's actually a totally different system. But I think everyone's just kind of established that PSX is PlayStation 1. I don't know why, but
Yeah. All right, what's he say? He says he didn't play Ocarina until about a year ago. I think I was too late to the party by then. That confuses me a little bit. I don't know if he's saying that maybe he's played like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time just feels like it came up short
dated
compared
maybe.
to those, or if he just started with Ocarina and he didn't really care for it. I don't know.
Yeah, because
But
classics like that, they don't really ever go out of style. So you
right.
kind of, I think it's probably like what you said, where he's played the newer ones first, and so doesn't have that whole, the same nostalgia, I guess.
Yeah, my favorite is Link to the Past so far. I've only played 3 Zelda games, but the second oldest, or the third oldest, I guess, is my favorite. Well, actually, it might be the fourth oldest. Link's Awakening for the Game Boy might be. Well, whatever. But Link to the Past is definitely my favorite. I don't know if you can really be too late to the party. I don't know if that really.
Yeah, on a classic like that, I don't
Yeah.
think. But
But hey, if he doesn't dig it, that's okay.
to each their own.
Yes, sir. Okay, well that's it for comments.
Well, I have one that's
Oh,
not
that's
on
right.
you.
Oh, I forgot about that last time too. Yeah.
James, Mr. Borderlands, mentioned once again, sent me a text because he couldn't get his YouTube account to work. So I'll go ahead and read the whole thing here, and then we can kind of break it down because it's kind of a long one. So here we go. Just finished the RattleCast. Was going to comment to YouTube, but seemed to have forgotten my password. Anyway, maybe the best episode yet, probably because you mentioned me so often, which he did get a couple mentions. Anyway, a couple of comments slash questions. On graphics versus gameplay with regards to the Wii, there's a few games I've wanted to play, Xenoblade, Arcrise Fantasia, that because they look so bad on my HD TV, I couldn't play. They were just too pixelated. Classic games don't have that issue, but play an N64 or PS1 game on a big screen. I'm no graphics whore, but there's a baseline that Nintendo needs to meet with the Wii U that the Wii didn't. Second, on the topics of sequels, what do you guys think about the fact original properties don't sell as well as franchises? See Mirror's Edge, Bulletstorm, etc. With game development being as expensive as it is, are we doomed to the Madden's, Call of Duty, and Halo if we want a big budget polished game? will we be relegated to smaller, more focused indie games if we want a game in a genre that doesn't sell 11 million units day one? So,
Wow.
quite the mouthful there, but
Yeah.
he brings up
Um,
some.
yeah. What was the first thing he said?
Basically that the Wii U,
Oh,
there is
oh yeah.
a
How the
baseline.
Wii looks bad on an HD TV.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true. I think it's the aspect ratio, if I'm not mistaken, that does it.
yeah,
I don't know if that. Okay. Um, Now the Wii U has HDMI out, so that's not going to be an issue. It's going to be an HD console. That won't be an issue. Um, but I was actually looking the other day because, like I said, I've been playing my Wii quite a bit lately, and they actually make for the Wii a AV to HDMI sort of output, like converter type deal.
converter.
I don't really know how it works, but it sounds good on paper.
Yeah,
I don't know how well it works, and they're like $30, which I thought was kind of a lot for that. But
it probably just
um,
upscales it, I would imagine. But
yeah, and actually the Wii does have HD cables that you can use through the AV that do come with it. So they don't come with it, but you can buy.
but
Um, but he is right in saying that the Wii it doesn't look that great on HD TVs. That's all I've played it on, so I can't compare it to anything else. Um, but I think that's the case for anything that's just in standard AV, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, some stuff looks better than others, but like you play an NES game on a big screen HD TV, and it's gonna burn your eyes because it's so pixels. Um, but I mean, you can get away with it, but I think the Wii U, like he says, I think there's a certain baseline that it does need to meet. Otherwise, people are gonna not, you know, the majority of people won't play it because it doesn't look like the other games that they're playing. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So.
I I think it probably will. You know, it there's from what I've read so far, it sounds like it will. Um, so we can hope.
Yeah. And then his other big question is basically, original franchises that don't sell as well as the big name Maddens and Call of Duties and stuff. Like he brings up two really good ones, which is Mirror's Edge and Bulletstorm. Um, and I think there's a place for those type of games, especially, the big studios that have the bigger games to fall back on. Like I think they need to make games like that and keep trying
Hmm.
different stuff rather than just focusing on the big budget titles. And I think there's a place for it, especially amongst the hardcore gamers that are gonna grab onto those niche titles and you know, like Mirror's Edge was really good, and I really hope they make another one, but they've never said that they're for sure going to.
Yeah, that game sort of has like a cult following, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it does, because
That's
it
cool.
it didn't really sell that well, but people that have played it, like everyone I've talked to that has played it, has loved it. So
Hmm.
who knows why it didn't sell that well, but because it doesn't say Call of Duty on it, I guess.
Yeah. Um, I think with this, it's just it's too much. It's almost too much of a gamble. Because if you make a game, let's say Nintendo comes out with a new. Well, Nintendo's a bad example. Let's say Bungie. Bungie comes out with a new IP. Let's call it Project X, whatever you want to call it. Um, it's a lot more risky to do that than it is to make Halo 4. Um,
Yeah,
and
which I agree with, which is why I say, studios like EA, they could take a chance on, in fact, they're the ones that released Mirror's Edge, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, I
Um,
think that's right.
they can take a chance on that because if it, if they make it and it doesn't sell that well, it's not really going to affect them as much as it would, say a Bungie who doesn't have, as many properties to fall back on.
Yeah,
So, I think there's a place for it. I just think the bigger studios need to get behind it because the smaller studios aren't able to take those chances like, say an EA would. But
yeah. Um, so unfortunately, he's probably right in saying that we're probably more doomed to, the big budget titles than
yeah.
we are the little ones. But there will always be, you know, the smaller games out there.
Yeah, and
I
there's,
don't think
there's
it'll go away.
plenty of, there's plenty of indie studios that are, making those Xbox Live Arcade titles and things like that,
Hmm.
so there's enough options, I think, that, somebody will take chances somewhere along the line.
Mm. All right. Well, I guess we can move on to news if you so desire.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you can go ahead and start if you like.
Oh, okay. Well, looking for me. I already have my first one pulled up.
Hmm.
Basically, Telltale Games, which is most known for the Back to the Future point-and-click adventure games that they did recently. They also did Jurassic Park, but we're not going to talk about that.
Mm. No, I never played it.
They are making a Walking Dead point-and-click adventure game, which I don't know about you, but I'm a huge fan of the TV series. Um,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
it's fantastically well made, and everybody should go watch it. But it's going to be point and click like their Back to the Future one was, and it's going to be, there's going to be some action in there, but it's going to be more focused on the in between stuff, which is kind of how the show is too. Um,
Hmm.
and it's going to be episodic, just like they did with Back to the Future. So far they've announced 5 episodes, and the first one is actually set to come out, what did it say, next month. So it's going to be a Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, PC, Mac, and iOS, which should be rather interesting.
Mm.
But yeah, it's just a real short trailer that Jay's showing here. It doesn't show a ton of gameplay, but it does show some action. And near as I can tell, it is the characters from, both the book and the show. Like they've got a guy that kind of looks like Glenn. And if you look closely at one of the screens, it shows a kid in the background of the shot that kind of, it could be, God, I can't remember his name.
Carl.
Carl, yeah, thank you. I kind of hated him at the end of this last season, so.
You know what? I don't know anybody who didn't. My sort of group of friends, we all watch, not, we watch it and then talk about it the next day or something. And I don't want to spoil anything, but in like, I think it's the second to last episode when a beloved character bites the dust.
Look, if you haven't watched it by now, you deserve to be spoiled, so.
Yes, yeah. But when he gets taken out as because of something Carl kind of didn't do, but
Yeah.
he should have done. Oh man, I was furious.
I was about to throw things at the TV with that.
He was my favorite character. Okay. Man.
But yeah, Carl kind of turned into a weenie at the end of the second season.
Yeah. Poor Otis in the beginning there. He died to save Carl, and look what Carl did.
Right. But yeah, I think Telltale knows what they're doing with those kind of games, so I think it'll be really good.
I've actually never played a point and click.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Are they?
Yeah. I mean, you have to be in that right mindset because it's a lot of trial and error, and you just have to throw things at the game and see if it works. So you finally find the right thing that it wants you to do. But they're tremendously fun. Like, I grew up on the Monkey Island and Full Throttle and stuff like that. So I love point and click. But,
yeah. Well, I think if I were to get into any of them, well, I mean, if you told me that this company had, well, in a few months we'll have made these 3 games, Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, and The Walking Dead, I'd be in love with them.
Right.
So I'll have to give those Back to the Futures a shot. I'm a pretty big Back to the Future fan. So.
Yeah, I actually have them and haven't had a chance to play through them yet, but everything I've heard is that they're really good. So.
Okay. Well, I have a news story about a little niche title coming out later this year. Halo 4. I don't know if you've heard anything about it or not.
Halo what? I'm sorry?
Yeah. So it's Halo 4. And, I read this article yesterday, and I kind of forgot most of it, but I got my Game Informer magazine today, and they had a huge Halo 4 thing in there, which just got me so excited about this game.
Yeah, I haven't read the whole article yet, but...
So, this article from IGN focuses more on the multiplayer. And what's interesting about this multiplayer is that there's several new things that are being added. First off, you are Spartan... is it Spartan 4s? You're Spartan 4s, which is like a new breed of Spartan. And there's a reason they come up with like this little backstory of why the Reds are fighting the Blues.
Right. Yeah.
It's really cool that they're kind of going the extra mile. As far as armor abilities, there's let's see, what is there? There's like all of them except armor lock, which I think everybody will be happy about because that is
See, I
ridiculous.
liked armor lock
Yeah,
sometimes.
it's okay if you use it, but when it's used against you,
Yeah,
it's the worst thing on
exactly.
the planet. Um, so there's that. There's an interesting thing that I read, which I'm not quite sure how this is going to work out. There are weapon drops. Like these random like weapons will just like fall out of the sky in these drop pods in random points across the map. So the same weapon won't always be in the same place. I don't know if there's going to be drop pods. I don't know if they're going to be in the same place every time, just carrying a different weapon. But that'll change it up, I guess. I don't know
I mean,
how.
that's just, that's interesting, especially if they do. Like, I would like to see them like have it be a different weapon every time or something like
Yeah,
that. I mean, it's kind of similar to what happens in firefight mode now. Where you get those weapon drops occasionally,
yeah.
but they're always in the same place and it's always the same weapons. But
Hmm.
so I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Um, there is something here which I just read which kind of makes me sad. It says that Spartan Ops mode is apparently replacing firefight. Uh,
Yeah.
which is kind of
Um,
sad because I love playing firefight, but.
Firefight was cool. It just didn't. It didn't have like the impact that like Nazi zombies or I enjoyed Horde on Gears 2 as well, but it was fun. Um, but it was missing something. I don't.
Yeah, I guess I love it so much because my friend, James again, we played it on ODST, which is where they
That
first,
I had a lot of fun on that one.
yeah. So we played so much of that we just kind of are in love with that mode anyway. So,
On a side note, on ODST, did you get that achievement called Endure?
no, because
It
that's
it
only you have to play like 4 players through the last level
it
without
is
getting.
the most like
Yeah,
balls to the wall achievement in that game. It's like you have to make it through. I think it's 4 sets of firefight on heroic or higher with 4 player. It's so hard,
yeah,
so hard. I remember when I got that because that was the last one I needed to get the recon armor in Halo 3. I was pretty excited, but that is ridiculously difficult at
yeah.
times.
There was a bunch of hard achievements on ODST. Like they,
There were annoying ones, definitely, definitely. Um, so anyway, that's a little news about Halo 4 multiplayer. I'm so excited. Anybody who's a naysayer can just shut it because I'm buying the game day one.
Right. I think the most interesting thing to me that came out of the article was that the multiplayer is going to tie like more in with the actual campaign, which they kind of have done with some, the maps look like stuff in the campaign, but they've never really tied the two, actual stories together. So that should be interesting. I think that's the most interesting thing to me that was in there. But yeah, Halo 4 is going to sell no matter what, so it doesn't
Hmm.
really matter what they do. But
I think something that concerns people is that it's made by a different studio, 343 instead of Bungie. But from what I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but 343 is basically made up of Bungie employees that work on
yeah.
like Halo 2 or something.
Yeah, the 343's been like I think previously under the Bungie umbrella, um, but not and now they're their own thing. So
Hmm.
I don't think you'll see a big drop off. And
Yeah.
you know,
It'll. I'm pretty confident that it'll be a good game.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm excited.
it's Halo.
Yeah.
You
Well.
need to know.
Yeah.
At least for me anyway.
Right. Yeah. All right. Your turn.
Let's see my second one. Oh yeah, this is rather interesting. Basically, as I wait for my slow internet to pull it up, basically a group, let's see if it says their name. Apparently not. There it is, the Florida Family Association, which is some anti, gay, you know, based group, is basically sending letters to EA, um, admonishing them for having lesbian, gay, bisexual content in their games, which is just stupid. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's a video game. Who the crap cares if you can be a lesbian in a video? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's just such a big deal. Like, they bring up, Star Wars Old Republic, and I think Mass Effect 3 are their main, causes that they're going after, which both happen to be EA games. Um, it's just stupid. Like I said, yeah, so what, there's an option that you can be, you can have a same-sex relationship in a video game. Who cares? If you don't like that option, don't use it.
Right.
Like, there's plenty of, those people do exist, so let them have their moment in their video game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just
I,
dumb.
I think people like this just need to shut up. It's 2012. I would at least think we're tolerant of things like this now.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, and their big claim is that EA was pressured by these extremists to include this content in their games. And it's like, and EA's like, no, we wanted to include it, Nobody forced us to do this. It's like we put them, we don't tolerate hate speech and, we don't tolerate, this anti-gay stuff. So we put this stuff in our games because we wanted to, it's not.
I, I think the biggest surprise here is that EA didn't force you to buy some sort of extra option in order to do it.
A lesbian gay download pack.
Yeah, the homosexual download pack. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That'd be kind of funny.
Yeah,
They'd probably get heat for that, actually.
yeah, that'd probably get them in more trouble than having the content in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just stupid. And like they bring up Star Wars, and it's like it's not even that big of a factor in that game. Like you can, I guess what they're talking about is because when you get companions in that game, you can have, you can kind of woo them. Basically, you can buy them gifts and stuff. And it's not even that big of a part of the game. Like you could never touch it and play through the whole game, and you'd never do that. So I don't know why they're making such a big deal out of it, quite frankly, but I digress. So I just thought that was interesting. EA is actually on the good side of something for a change.
Yeah, that doesn't happen as often anymore. Okay, well, real quick, this isn't huge news or anything. I don't think too many people will be disappointed. But Bulletstorm was planned to have a sequel. It's not anymore. They canceled it. Epic, the team mostly behind the original Bulletstorm. I guess they have like a subdivision within Epic Games called People Can Fly.
Well, it's a developer that's under Epic, basically.
Okay, so Epic has said that they're gonna can Bulletstorm 2 and then have them work on something else. They're saying that a big reason for it was because it did well. You mentioned it earlier. It wasn't the biggest seller, and it received pretty good reviews, but it was pirated a lot. Apparently, piracy was a big issue. That surprised me. I really didn't think that would be much of a problem.
Well, yeah, they say particularly the PC version, which piracy on PC
Yes.
is a huge issue. It's essentially kind of killed the PC games market. There's still a small one, but it's nothing like what it used to be. And there is piracy on consoles as well, but I don't think, that could affect it that much to where, they would be like, well, let's not make another one, but apparently it did. So, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where, the original IPs, is there room for them? Well, apparently in the case of Bulletstorm, there's not. So
Yeah.
which is kind of sad. I think Bulletstorm was a victim of bad timing too, because it came out around the same time as Gears 3, and there was another big release that came out about the same time too. So I think that didn't help it for sure. But
Wait, what it came out when?
didn't it? It came out around the same time as Gears 3, didn't it? Or am I totally stupid?
Well, I don't want to say it that way, but I think no. Gears of War 3 came out towards the end of last year, right? It was like November 2011 or October or something. And I think Bulletstorm came out in 2010.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Well,
maybe
I
I'm totally stupid,
here.
but anyway.
Bulletstorm release date. All right, let's see. February 25th, 2011. Okay, so it was sort of, I guess, near.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was 2010. That's odd. Yeah. Well, yeah. It could have been a victim of bad timing. I can't really think of what might have come out to hinder it, but this is kind of an unfortunate case because we did discuss it earlier. New IPs are. It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, but I actually liked Bulletstorm. I thought it was a pretty decent game. It wasn't... You play as like a space pirate, and it's kind of like a funny game. it was okay. It was a pretty good game. I actually never finished it.
Yeah, Gears of War came out in September, so I guess it wasn't that close, but...
Yeah. But I think people were probably hyping that one a little bit more than this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, well, that's the last news story. And we have actually a really cool gaming spotlight this week. I really like this one that you picked. It's single player versus multiplayer gaming.
I think the epic gaming debate, really.
Yeah, a
How
lot of people
important is
talk about
multiplayer?
this.
um, basically, I think games basically break down into three categories for me, and it's like, great single player only, games that need multiplayer, and then games that multiplayer helps, but they don't necessarily need it.
Hmm.
Um, great examples of great single player would be like Elder Scrolls, Fallout, games like that. They have single player, they don't have any multiplayer component, and they're still awesome. Games that would need multiplayer, the Call of Duties, the Halo to a certain extent, but not as much. But really any shooter, it's got to have that multiplayer component, or after you finish the campaign, you're never going to play it again. And then, games that multiplayer helps, I think like Gears of War, Borderlands especially. You could play Borderlands single player, but it was a grind. If you had a buddy to play with, you would, you're more apt to play it. So
Hmm.
I don't know what your thoughts are, like how important single player or multiplayer is to you.
Um, I I like it. It's an excellent idea. It really, really extends the replay value on some games. But I think people now get too caught up in it. I think they think it's the most important thing. If a first person shooter comes out that doesn't have competitive multiplayer, people bitch.
Yeah.
Um, I remember I think I don't know where I saw this, but it might have been a Facebook post that some gaming site I liked had posted that it was back before Arkham City came out, and it was announced that Arkham City was not going to have multiplayer, and people were complaining. How could you complain about that? That game doesn't need multiplayer. In fact, that would almost tell me that the single player is going to be more important, better. Um, so to me, multiplayer isn't. It's an addition, but it can also be a hindrance.
Yeah, especially games where it feels tacked on. Like,
Hmm.
why is there multiplayer here? And then you go, oh yeah, because they want to sell more games.
Yeah, like Assassin's Creed. That doesn't need multiplayer.
Right. Yeah, that's a great example.
The types of multiplayer that I really do enjoy are cooperative. You can play a co-op campaign. That's fun. Um, a firefight mode, that sort of survival mode. Those are fun. But most games, just a lot of games, in fact, don't need a multiplayer. What I do like about multiplayer is that how some old franchises that you thought would be awesome to play online are now coming into being able to. Um, Two that come to my mind right now are Mario Kart and Smash Brothers as well.
Yeah.
That I mean, Mario Kart is built for multiplayer. Smash Brothers is the same way. It used to be, get 4 or 5 people in a room. Now it's get 16 people online.
Online. Yeah.
But I think it's the core concept of the series, and that those types of games work really well online. If you were to make Super Mario Galaxy 3 have some sort of online, I don't know how you'd do it. I guess a co-op would be kind of. There was that Zelda game, Four Swords Adventure. That was it wasn't online, but it did have multiplayer with 4 people at a
With
time.
4 people. Yeah.
That would be interesting over the internet. But well, that comes up with a second point that Nintendo needs to improve their online capabilities, which it appears that they're doing anyway. But they could use a little help. But
Yeah, for sure.
but anyway, with multiplayer, um, yeah, I don't know. Bottom line is, some games need it, some games don't. Um, I, if done poorly, it can kind of ruin certain things.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think if you're gonna have a first-person shooter, it's probably a good idea, unless it's an RPG or a very lengthy campaign. It's probably a good idea to have a solid multiplayer in it.
Yeah.
But I find a problem that I'll use this example. The game Aliens versus Predator came out a couple years ago, and I really, really liked that game. It had a really fun multiplayer, but the problem is it just didn't have a big enough base, a fan base, or selling to really take off. So you'd sooner find people going back to the big Halo and Call of Duty, so they'd leave this one behind. Battlefield now.
Yeah.
It seems like there's those three things that no matter what game comes out with a multiplayer, people always revert back to those.
It's like it'll stay popular for a little while, and then everybody will go back to,
Mm-hmm.
the mainstays. But
Yeah.
I don't. For me, it's like co-op is a big deal, more so than like competitive multiplayer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I have a buddy that I try and play with every week. So, for me, co-op is a big deal. I've bought games just so that we can play them co-op, like Brink and Bulletstorm. We haven't gotten to them yet, but I specifically bought those games with the intention of playing it co-op. But it's not. I'll take a great single player experience over crappy multiplayer any day. So
Easily. Yes.
give me Fallout and Skyrim before you give me crappy Call of Duty again. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's to me co-op is bigger deal than competitive multiplayer, but I'm probably the minority there.
You probably are, but I'm a minority with you in that. Um, the other day, my cousin was over. I think he's like, I don't know, 12 or something. I don't know, but he's big into Modern Warfare 3, which is annoying because that's all he, no matter what you play, they always compare it to that. I was playing
Right.
Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime is a very good game, and he was watching me play. He's like, "This is stupid," because it's not Call of Duty, and
Right.
it's not trying to be, and you know, there's no multiplayer in Metroid Prime, and there doesn't need to be. That's an excellent game. Where was I going with this? I don't know. It was annoying me that he was comparing it because he doesn't play campaign. Campaign is useless to him. He just plays the multiplayer.
He just wants the
So it kind
multiplayer.
of ruins things too. Ruined Metroid Prime for him, and I have to listen to it.
Right.
So, in multiplayer gaming, it's not going anywhere. So, in fact, it's probably just going to grow.
My only fear is that, the single player experience starts to suffer because companies are so worried about the multiplayer. Like, that's kind of what made me want to talk about it was, games like Skyrim and things like that, are they going to go away because, companies realize they can sell more if they just make the next Call of Duty. You know what I mean?
I really hope not.
I don't think we're to that point yet. I think it's a long ways off if it does happen because, games like Skyrim still sell plenty well. So I think we'll be okay. But it's certainly an interesting debate that will probably rage forever and ever. But.
Mm, yeah. Okay. Well, that was good. That was a good topic. I really did like that. Yeah.
This is one for the fans to comment on, like their thoughts, I think.
Yeah.
So please comment, people.
Yes. Comment, questions, everything. All right. So we can go ahead and move on to game of the week if you're game.
I'm game, as it were.
Yeah. So you picked this week as well. So
I picked both of them as is our new standard. And I came up with NFL Blitz, which there's the classic NFL Blitz, and then they it came out a few months ago, but released NFL Blitz on Xbox Live Arcade, and I'm pretty sure it's on PSN too. But I don't know how much if you ever played the classic version at all.
no, I've never played it. I did look up gameplay though.
Okay, the classic, like the original arcade NFL Blitz, it was one of the funnest games in the world to play. To sit in an arcade and plop your 8 quarters if you wanted to play a whole game, which is ridiculous. But especially if you had 4 guys sitting around the cabinet playing, like it's just incredibly fun. It's one of the, like, NBA Jam. It's got that special place in your heart. And the new one that they came out with is actually really, really, well done as far as paying tribute to the original, but, kind of changing it up a little. It's got the online. It's got the main single player mode is like what they call gauntlet mode, where you'll take your team that you pick and you'll play. I think it's 3 teams, and then you'll play like a boss team that's like a superpowered team. And, you have to play it multiple times to unlock all the boss teams. And after you beat a boss team, you can play as that boss team. But, the gameplay is classic arcade style. There's not really any defense to be like defense is more luck than anything else. Your games wind up being 70 to 65. There's not a whole lot of defense being played, but it's just a whole lot of fun. Like that's the big thing for me.
When I watched some gameplay, I looked up the arcade one first, and what immediately struck me is how close. Of course, it's a different sport, but how close it resembled NBA Jam, and it's like over the top sort of arcade.
Yeah,
feel.
and that's what it was supposed to be. It was the football equivalent to NBA Jam. It's made by the same people, so
No,
the
that would explain it.
yeah. So Valley Midway was their thing back then. Was amazingly successful arcade games. So
I watched a little gameplay from the new one, and like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head. It looks like a good update, but pays tribute.
yeah, and which in a game like that, that's what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
You've got that core audience that's going to see the NFL Blitz name and know what to expect. So you've got to keep it somewhat similar to the original. But they took out like the late hits, which isn't a big deal to me. Like there was no point in it really. It was just something fun to do in the arcade. Was sit there and pound on the player after the play was over. But the over the topness of the game is still there. So
I don't play many sports games. Other than golf, I really don't, or maybe a Mario Tennis or something. I really don't play any sports games at all. Well, other than if I were to play a sports game, this would be the kind that I would lean towards. This sort of different. It doesn't really take itself serious. It's more about having fun than knowing the best play at the best time.
Yeah, and that's what it's for. Anybody I think could sit and play it, even if they didn't know how to. It didn't know the ins and outs of football. You could pick up Blitz and play it and have fun with it. And it's one of those games that anybody can play, whether you like football or not. So, and I think that's what makes it great.
That's good because I know beans about football.
And see, I'm just the opposite. But
yeah,
we can both have fun with it. That's what's great about it.
what an excellent concept this is.
All
right, that looks like a pretty fun game. You said there was a demo or something available?
Yeah, any Xbox Live Arcade game, you can go and get a trial version of. So definitely at least go check it out and have some fun with it. And then I think it's 1,200 Microsoft points, which is roughly $15, but it's a full-fledged game. It's worth that price, I think.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, did you want to say anything else, or you want to move on to the?
That about sums it up, I think. Go play.
Yeah. All right. So we can go into the what we're playing segment. Yeah. Why don't we do it like I'll say one, you say one, I'll say one, you say one. How's that?
Fair enough.
All right. I'll start with Metroid. I mentioned earlier I was playing Metroid Prime. That's sort of a half-truth. I'm actually playing Metroid Prime Trilogy.
The trilogy.
Yes, the Wii release. I'm trying to think when it came. I think it was 2010. Of Metroid Prime 1, 2, and of course 3. They're not really redone as far as graphics go, which would hardly change anything, to be honest. But the 1 and 2 were on the GameCube, and since they're on the Wii, they do use motion controls now. And I gotta tell you, I'm really shocked at how well motion controls work for a first-person shooter. The way they have it set up. I'm not gonna play Call of Duty or anything. I don't know how they work, but this work. The controls are really, really good. It's kind of shocking.
Can you revert it back to like the classic controls and play with a classic pad, or do you have to use the motion?
You know what? That's a decent question. Actually, it's not a decent question. It's a good question. I don't know. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to, because you can hook a GameCube controller up. I'm going to look that up right now. You use the GameCube controller on Metroid Prime Trilogy.
Use the power of the internet to find the answer.
Does Metroid Prime Trilogy allow you to use GameCube controllers? Here we go. Answer: no, it doesn't. Okay. Oh no, you can't. That's kind of sucks. But the games, I think Metroid 1 and 2 are like less than $10. So, if you just
Really want to play on your GameCube controller, just
yeah.
go buy it.
But I think it's interesting playing with the motion controls. It's something new, um, which I kind of like. I kind of like it. I'm digging it so far.
So far, so
We'll
good.
see. Yeah. All right. So what are you playing?
I guess I'll start with the more modern game. I'm kind of in a baseball mood, so actually both of my games this time are baseball games. I started playing MLB The Show again, which I still play the 2011 version because I can't afford $60 on a brand new game. Um, so
That
I'm still
seems
playing
like
it.
a lot, man.
Well, especially for a sports game, and
Yeah,
you know,
because next year it's just gonna go down the tubes for price.
right? Yeah, so I'm still playing 2011, which is plenty good for me. But
I'm that way with Tiger Woods, by the way. I refuse to buy the new ones.
yeah, it's you know 2012 is not that much different than 2011. They made a few small tweaks, but nothing major. So outside of a roster update, there's really, not a whole lot that makes me want to buy it. So, but I focus primarily on Road to the Show mode. And I spent most of my time with my batter last year. So now I started playing my pitcher, and it's just tremendously fun to play. Like, it makes you feel like you're actually playing in a major league game. It's really fun. So
That is a PS3 exclusive, isn't it?
yes, yeah, it's made by Sony themselves. So PS3 and Vita, and you can get the 2012 on Vita. And that is the one cool thing. Like if you have both a Vita and a PS3, and you buy both versions of the game, like it'll actually transfer back and forth between the two.
Oh, that's cool.
So like if you're playing franchise, you can transfer it over to your Vita, take it with you, and play it on the bus or whatever, and then come back home and load it back up and continue playing on your PS3. So that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good
You have to
idea.
spend like $90 in games to have both versions, but if that's a big deal to you. But yeah, Road to the Show, it's a blast to play because you're only in control of your player. So especially like when you're playing a pitcher and like they make an error in the field, you want to run over and punch them in the face because they're screwing you over. But it's fun. It's by far the best baseball game I've ever played, I think. So
I've only played I could probably count the amount of baseball games I've played on one hand.
right.
Yeah, not very many. All right. Well, the other game I'm playing, there's actually two more, but I'll just do this one because I haven't played the other one in a while. But I did get Nick mentioned it earlier, or Ball and Nick in a comment. Xenoblade Chronicles for the Wii. I got it actually on the release date, and I've been playing it. It's a JRPG, which normally isn't my cup of tea, but I'm turning into a bit of a tea drinker, if you know what I mean. This is this is a really fun game. When I say I'm not much of an RPG guy, that's because I'm very inexperienced with them. Um, when it comes to the Super Nintendo, I've got Chrono Trigger. I got some Final Fantasies. I could play them, but they just never quite grabbed me. And Xenoblade was the same way until I learned how to play it, and it just like sucked me right in. It's once you I leveled up my character, so I had a chance against the bosses, and it's just so much fun. It is a lot of fun.
How is combat? Is it turn based or
It
is it
is not
action
turn-based. It is well, like I said, I'm very and not unfamiliar with RPG. It's like have you ever played Chrono Trigger?
actually punch me in the face, but no. I am a terrible RPG gamer. I just can't do them. Like it's so hard for me to play RPGs that it really has to be something that I enjoy. And the Japanese RPGs especially, I just can't get into at all.
You might want to give this one a shot. Here, oh man, I can try and tell you the battle system.
I'm gonna go to YouTube and look at gameplay real quick.
Oh, okay, well that'll help.
That'll probably be faster.
Yeah. You have let's say 3 people in your squad. You only control one of them though. So, it's a little easier that way. Yeah, you have a set list of moves.
I'm looking at it now.
Oh, okay. All right. You pick one. It took me a while, to figure out actually how to fully use it. But once I figured it out, it really it actually took over Skyward Sword, believe it or not, because that's what I was playing before. That was the other game I was going to mention, which I just mentioned, I guess. I did get Skyward Sword, and I've been playing that. And once I got Xenoblade, it kind of sort of moved over, and I haven't been playing it much.
Yeah, the combat looks interesting. Like it's more action than.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's so far the story is really cool. It's like you're on these two giant titans that fought each other like a really long time ago, and like through time these civilizations have like built themselves on these titans that are like frozen in time, or whatever you want to call it.
Huh.
And you're on the titan called Bionis, which is home of like the good people sort of. And the other titan is called Mechonis, I believe it is. And that's where the evil Mechon, they're basically robots, is from. And they're sort of like waging war. I thought that was really
Yeah, it's
really cool.
sounds interesting.
Yeah. So,
It's
so,
just
so
it's so hard for me to play RPGs, like, because number one, I just don't have the time to dedicate to them. And it's like I said, it's got to be something that really grips me, like the Fallout or Skyrim to a certain extent.
yeah.
And I can sit and play those for a little bit, but
Yeah, I've heard the game has like, was it 100 or 50 like hours of gameplay? I guess it would imagine depend on how many side quests you do.
yeah.
But before we move on to your last one, there was a few reasons I got this game, and this would actually make for a good topic of one of the shows. When I was in GameStop, I saw a review on it from IGN, and I didn't really think much of getting it, so I was in GameStop, and they had a little advertisement for it. This was before its release, and I was looking at it. The guy said, "Hey, you getting Xenoblade?" I was like, I don't know. I probably not. He goes, yeah. He kind of sucked me in with his whole spiel. He goes, well, they're saying it's supposed to be one of the best RPGs to hit the Wii, and it's going to be sort of a niche title. We're not going to get that many of them, so if you're at all thinking about getting it, I'd pre-order it. And then it hit me. It's like it's only at GameStop, by the way. You can only get it at GameStop.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or I guess online now, but it hit me. It's like, okay, wait a minute. This is an RPG. It's coming out late in the Wii life, and very few of them are getting released. I smell a rare game in the future.
Let me go buy it.
Yeah, so I ended up getting it. On kind of a collector's whim and a curiosity slight whim, and it paid off. In fact, I think already it's more than $50 online, especially if it comes with the art book, which was a pre-order bonus, which I was pretty lucky. I was lucky enough to get. So yeah, I'm looking at here's one for 70. This one's at 80. That one's not gonna sell. Oh, it comes with the book, but yeah. What I was saying might be a cool topic for the show is how collecting has impacted current gaming.
Yeah.
That would be something interesting because it's done it more than I thought it would. For me, anyway. So.
Right.
All right. So what's your?
My final one is keeping on the baseball theme, but going way classic. Baseball Stars on the
I
original.
knew you were gonna say it.
I love that game, and so I started playing it again because it's just too fun not to play every once in a while. It was the show before the show was the show, if that makes any sense. It's the NES equivalent of the show. Like, it's just so much fun because you can make your own team and build them up and make them super powered, and it's fun. Like, we spent so much time playing that game back in the day that it just has that special place in my heart. So I have to fire it up every once in a while just to test my skills. And
Yeah, when you hear people talking about sports games for the NES, they'll say Tecmo Bowl or Blades of Steel or something like that, and then Baseball Stars is it's like the quintessential baseball game on the Wii and the NES.
Yeah, it's funny because my first ever YouTube video that I ever put up was me playing Baseball Stars very, very badly because I'm like fiddling around with my screen capture software and trying to play at the same time. So it's a really horrible example of gameplay of that game. But it's probably like my most commented on video ever because number one, people are making fun of me because I suck at the game. And like number two, there's so many people that have that, those memories of playing that game that like everyone that comments on it is saying how wonderful it is and all this, but that I suck at it. But but it was funny because one guy was like, made some comment like, why have so many people watch this video of this old crappy NES game? And just people just jumped on him and just like ripped him to shreds. Like it was the funniest thing I think I've ever seen. Because they're all like, because we love it and it's classic. And I made the comment, eventually those games aren't going to exist anymore. You're going to have to look at old footage of them, what they were like. So it was just kind of funny, but real short and sweet. Go play Baseball Stars because it rules.
I see you put up a Kid Icarus gameplay today.
I did,
Or
yeah.
yes-
I filmed that the other day after our episode. That game is ridiculously hard. Can I just tell you that?
Yeah, Ken.
I cannot get past like the first screen, essentially, like the first level screen, because I kept dying. Because you scroll up, and if you miss a jump, you die, and you go all the way back to the beginning. Like you have one life, and if you miss a jump, you're dead. So I was not doing very good at it. I think it's about 12 minutes of me dying. So it's a good watch, but yeah, that game is ridiculously hard. We were talking about that before, but I didn't remember it being that hard, or maybe I've just lost my skills, but it was bad.
I I actually went back and found your Baseball Stars video. I just
Oh yeah.
wanted to check out the comments. In the top where it says uploader comments, there's a comment that says this comment has received too many negative votes, so I hit show. And
Is that the one?
yeah, I think he says I was wondering why you have this old school video game posted. I had this game, and it was my only one, and it was awesome. I guess times have changed. Cool, but why did over 10,000 people view it? I guess they were like me, wondering why it's on YouTube.
Yeah, and then people just jump on him.
And you
It's
said, if you would read the comments, you would see that many people have fond memories of this game. Many of us enjoy the old school games just as much as the new stuff and feel that old school should be preserved. YouTube is one way to do that. Spoken excellently.
that's me back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, what's it got? 21,000 views. Wow, very nice.
Yeah.
I see you have one for Baseball Stars 2.
I think that's one of my arcade ones. I think.
Oh, is that the arcade version?
Yeah. There is a Baseball Stars 2. No,
Yeah. Yeah, there's one on the NES.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah, I was just checking it out. It's actually a little more expensive than Baseball Stars 1. It's kind of uncommon. It's not rare, I wouldn't call it.
Yeah.
It'll cost over 10 usually, which is kind of a decent amount for a sports game.
Yeah.
But that's I have Baseball Stars, and I'd like to get it boxed because that's just all the better. But Baseball Stars 2 boxed is probably going to be around $40. That's a little high.
Yeah, that's especially for one that you're not necessarily into yourself,
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably what I'll just end up getting a cart for. That's what sucks about NES games is they're the cheaper games are annoying to get boxed because like a $3 game will cost like $15. That's just annoying. That's what it is. But all right, looks like we're gonna. Oh, we just crossed over an hour. Damn.
Almost made it. If we hadn't gone on our Baseball Stars tangent, but
All right, well, that's okay. All right, well, that's going to be the end of episode 2. Now, this is Thursday night, and we usually record on Wednesday night, which gives me most of Thursday to edit. I won't have that luxury this time, so I'm probably going to be too busy tomorrow to completely edit this thing, so I'm probably just going to have to do a very bare bones thing, which, it's not really, it's really just about listening to us talk about it, I suppose, as opposed to the editing. But, if the internet wasn't being stupid yesterday,
Let's hope that never happens again, because that was just awful.
I hated it. It so bad. But but yeah, that's gonna be it for episode 2, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I think um, maybe, just maybe, we'll start having guests soon. And I know I mention it a lot, and we never do it, but I think it would be something that would be cool to have. I think one problem with the guests would be fitting them in our schedule. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know if they would work at the same time that, we do this, who knows?
we'll work on it. We'll see.
Yeah, we will.
Somewhere down the line, there'll be at least a guest somewhere.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I just hope this recording program will even do that.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out.
It probably will, I would imagine.
We'll have
But,
to mess with it, but
but all right, well, that's the end of episode 2, guys. So, next Friday, gonna be another one. So until then, guys, take it easy.
and we'll see you then.